£20 gift card please. £20 gift card.
This is 36-year-old David Wilson topping up £20 on a burner phone so he could send images of girls from the internet to young boys. In exchange, he would attempt, and was a lot of the time successful, at getting those same boys to send indecent images of themselves back to him. He was a man so depraved yet so sneaky, it would take the UK's FBI, the National Crime Agency, years to finally bring him to justice. David Wilson, the man who attempted to abuse 5,000 children over the internet.
Get back! One detained! 1 male detained! Beautiful, clear top.
In May of 2016, David Wilson would log on to one of his many fake social media profiles claiming to be a young teenage girl. He then starts to approach young boys and gets into relatively normal conversations with them. Over time, these messages would turn into either sexual conversations or, as one victim describes, threats and harassment. The sexual conversations would see David send out full naked pictures of adult women over to the boys in exchange for the boys to send back images of themselves, whilst others were harassed that much by him that he would claim he would disappear in return for indecent images from them. His offending didn't just take place in the UK though, his victims and potential victims were located all over the world. By June and July of 2017, Facebook passed information on that 20 accounts of boys ranging from 12 to 15 years old had been sending indecent images of themselves to an account seemingly belonging to a 13-year-old girl. The investigation was being run by the NCMEC, the US National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, who then passed the information on to the NCA as they see the account belongs to someone in the UK. The NCA uncovered key evidence against David, including IP addresses used to commit the offences resolved to his house. The agency also uncovered CCTV footage of him buying a top-up voucher for a phone number linked to one of the fake Facebook accounts. When he was arrested in August of 2017, the phone used to commit some of the offences was hidden in his bedroom, but believe it or not, even though they had all this evidence, he would go on to be bailed as investigations continued. Little did they know at that point though, he wouldn't be spooked by the arrest, and the abuse against children online was about to get a whole lot worse. After his arrest, he would be back up to his old tricks again and would start to use the same tactics to groom young boys. This time he would create even more accounts, but would use blackmail tactics to get more extreme images. Once those initial images had been sent by the young boys, David would start to claim that he would distribute them to family and friends if they didn't do what he demanded. Some things that have been noted is that children as young as 4 years old would be horrifically abused by their older siblings due to the online blackmail by David. Despite multiple victims pleading for him to stop, he now knew he was in full control of them and continued the abuse for the years that followed. Sadly, sometimes his threats to give out these images proved true though, because on occasions they were given out to friends of the victims, which led a lot of them to contemplate suicide, and we're talking boys that are quite literally 11, 12, 13 years old. As time went on, the NCMEC would be getting fed more information from Facebook about young boys sending indecent images to accounts belonging to young girls, but of course this was David, and 90 referrals were made to the NCA from their US counterparts. The relevant material contained more than 250,000 messages to victims across the UK, Australia and America. Over 5,000 children were approached, and 500 of them are thought to have fell victim to David. By April of 2020, NCA officers would go on to arrest David again in connection with their investigation.
Get back! Go! One detained! 1 male detained! Beautiful, clear top.
Right, okay, David, listen in. Okay, as of this moment, okay, you are under arrest for the following offences. I need you to listen to the offences, okay? I'm going to go through them. Right, causing or inciting a child under 13 years of age to engage in sexual activity, causing or inciting a child to engage in sexual activity, sexual communication with a child, blackmail, making and distribution of indecent images of children, and the possession of indecent images of children. Do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Okay, David, the grounds for this are that we're in possession of material that shows that accounts controlled by you, David Wilson, are involved in the commission of the offences for which I've just arrested you for. Okay? This arrest is necessary for a number of reasons. To protect children or other vulnerable persons from you, to allow the prompt and effective investigation of the offences, okay, by means of recorded interview where special warnings may be delivered to you, okay, and to preserve evidence that we believe that you may attempt to destroy or hide if you're not arrested. Okay, do you understand? Yeah.
When he was arrested this time though, he attempted to dispose of a mobile phone by putting it down the toilet, which was later recovered and repaired. It's thought that this phone contained vital evidence that would help convict him. This time he would go on to be charged with 96 sex offences against 52 boys aged between the ages of 4 and 14. From the dates of May 2016 to April of 2020. I'm unsure why, if there was 500 victims, the prosecution only felt the need to include 52 of them, by the way. Maybe the 52 were on the more extreme end of the offending. He ended up pleading guilty to the charges that were brought against him, and in the sentencing hearing, the judge was quoted as saying that in his 40-year career, David Wilson's offending was amongst the worst he had ever seen. It was then he handed him a 25-year jail sentence, but only a few months later, his term would be increased by an extra 3 years to 28 years. What I want to show you now is one of David's victims who bravely came forward to police in order to help prosecute him.
Started on social media, on Instagram, creating my first account, unknowingly aware of the dangers of social media and predatory people like Wilson himself. And I had my friends on there, but I also had a girl contact me. This girl approached me in a way that was normal, seemed like an approachable person of my age. We progressed talking, and over time they changed the way that they were speaking to me. They weren't the same anymore, and I was concerned. And it was around this time that they began to threaten and harass me. And as I was scared and telling them to leave me alone constantly, he asked me to send indecent images in exchange to leave. Okay. And as an 11-year-old kid, you just want them to go. So I did. Just shy of about 2 years later, I had a second account contact me. This account was basically the same, different girl. I had a feeling that this was a predator, and I immediately took action. They then immediately said they had a picture, which was in fact that indecent image that I sent 2 years back. And that's really drowning for a child. It had a really detrimental effect on me. At 12 years of age, I was abused, blackmailed, made to feel suicidal, and that's something no kid should have to go through. It's had a detrimental effect on my life. I was trapped between the feeling of, should I send these indecent images and carry on through David Wilson's evil games, or do I contact my parents for help? I'm very satisfied that it will bring closure, and that I will no longer have to even think about this man in my life. And I'm ready for this man to rot in prison. If the Facebook end-to-end encryption does happen, then all of these other men similar to David Wilson, paedophiles, are lurking over this, and they will find great satisfaction that this will happen. They will take advantage, and they will no longer need to hide.
The thought that something or a case like this might not come to light in the future that he might not be brought to justice is really scary. You just think that someone like him could have carried on because law enforcement agencies aren't able to get the information they need to prosecute someone like him. I don't think that could be a good thing for anyone. But the fact that he has been brought to justice, you know, as a parent, I'm eternally grateful that that has happened so that it can bring some kind of closure to the family.
And so if there's one thing we can take away from this video is that please, if there is any parents out there watching this, if you do have young teenage children, please monitor what they're doing online, because we have monsters out there just like this. The sad reality is, for every one David Wilson that gets prosecuted and jailed, there's another 2,000 or 3,000 lurking around on the internet, and that's just in the UK itself. If we're talking on a worldwide scale, we're talking potentially tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people just exactly like him. In this case, we can see that David didn't necessarily abuse the children in person, but the suffering that he put them through, he might as well have done it himself. I'm hoping every single victim in this case is getting the support they need and can continue getting support moving forward. But again, parents, if you are watching this, please just monitor what your children are doing on the internet. It's been your boy Huncho, and I'm out.